How y'all doing? Yeah, I know. Y'all see me with my hair flat, no makeup. But hey, if y'all go to bed with perfectly styled hair and a full face of makeup, more power to you, baby. I applaud you, but I can't do that. I have to make sure that my skin is clean and oil free so I can get a good night's rest. And you have to keep your skin clean, honey. Otherwise, that dirt gets all down in there with them dead cells and it'll age you. Make you look like some of the asphalt out there on the highway. Anyway, y'all had a good day. It's Tuesday, July the 3rd. The day before the 4th of July. And I know some of y'all want to pop your firecrackers, hang out with your family, drink your good liquor, enjoy yourself. Do you. But don't you let nobody else do you. Okay? So let nobody fool you. Don't celebrate nothing, nobody, more than you celebrate your own people, history, and heritage. And since we've been on history lately, I want to talk to y'all about something that I've been hearing. I know it started off, I think, as a hip-hop song. And I've been hearing a lot of misguided young ladies and not so young ladies hollering about they bad and bougie. Now, about a week or so ago, I told you can't be bad and bored. Well, you can't be bad and bougie. It's impossible. Can't be bad and bougie because now, in the black neighborhood, the black community, when something is bad, it means it's really, really good, extraordinary, not common. When they say, ooh, she knows she had on a bad outfit. It ain't one you just gonna run up in the, you ain't gonna run up in the City Trends and get one of them and go by Payless and get you some shoes to go with it. When they say, ooh, did you see him? He was in a bad ride. He didn't go down to the buy him, pay him car lot and get that car. It's extraordinary. So if you're going to be bad, you can't be bougie. And if you're going to be bougie, you really not that bad. See, the word can be traced back to at least the 1500s, the mid-1500s. And it is actually a word that is derived from the French language. Now, meaning in the middle. I know that some woke person gonna come on here and say, "Nah, my sister, the word is Arabic in origin." It's not Arabic in origin. And I want you to learn where Arabia really is, if Arabia really exists, and on which continent Arabia would be. Okay? Or where Arabic languages are spoken. And then I'm going to give you a little history lesson about that so you can keep on being woke. And I'm going to talk to you about the woke folks. Now, all y'all talking about staying woke, I can't stay woke because I'm getting a little older. I can't stay woke. I have to sleep and get some rest sometime. Because if you stay woke all the time, you're going to soon be tired, run down, and like some of these hollering, stay woke, not thinking clearly. Okay? But back to the topic at hand, and we'll save that staying woke for another day. The word originated, or can be traced back to use in at least the 1500s, mid-1500s, and is derived from the French language, bourgeois, some say bourgeoisie, but it is a word that means in the middle. It means in the middle class. It doesn't mean upper middle class. So while some of y'all going around talking about bougie means upper middle class, you need to get your weight up. No, what you doing if you going around bragging about you are bougie or you bourgeois, it's not a time for you to get your weight up. It's actually for those who have to get their hate up. because being a member of the bourgeois class or the bourgeoisie simply means to be in the middle class and have a mindset in which you are mostly consumed with the pursuit of owning some type of material thing, property, or being materialistic in nature. Karl Marx, or by Marxist theories, if any of you choose to study the history of different governments and different philosophers or economic people or social people who study the difference between capitalism, communism, and socialism, the Marxist theory says that the bourgeois or the bourgeoisie are the people who are mostly concerned with capitalism, and they are mostly consumers. They buy a lot of shit, and they do that because they're in the middle. They want to be perceived as not being poor, yet they don't really have enough money. They ain't got no, as my folks in the country said, they ain't got no money for real, for real. Most of the time, the bourgeois person or the person in the middle is, just as they say, concerned with materialistic things. They have a materialistic mindset. These are the people who must have a way to always keep up with the Joneses. They have to have the newer car, the bigger house, the latest fashions. And truth be told, a lot of them are flogging and fronting, as the young folks say. So when somebody starts talking about them being bougie, what they're really saying is, I need to identify with what I think will make me be somebody so that you will think I'm somebody, even when I know deep down inside, if I were to get rid of all of this overpriced shit I bought, I might not be no damn body. See, most of the time, people don't realize that when you're hollering about your bougie, you're really just basic. Even today, in an interaction with a young lady, she was explaining to me about being bougie because she represents. And I asked, well, what do you represent? And she said she represents the way she was raised. Even though she worked in a uniform, she talked about how she would be neat and clean, and her hair would always be styled, and she would always have her nails done, and she would always smell nice and be clean. And I asked her, honey, that ain't being bougie. That's basic hygiene. Taking a bath and wearing clean, pressed clothes and fixing your hair and grooming your fingernails, that's hygiene. Basic hygiene. And from the rich all the way down to the poorest of the poor need to do that. Because even if you claim you are bougie, we don't want to smell your booty. Oui. So being able to go and even have your hair styled by a professional, get a manicure, a pedicure, a massage, that's not being bougie. That's what working folks do when they treat themselves after a hard day's work. And those of you who talk about you got a house, your own car, your own job, that's not being bougie. That's called being a responsible adult. When you get up every day and go to work and provide for your basic needs. Food, clothing, shelter, and transportation are basic needs. Personal hygiene and good grooming are basic activities. Those things don't make you bougie. And nobody who really has any real money, class, or respect for themselves walks around talking about being bougie. Bougie, which is a derivative of the word bourgeois, simply means to be in the middle. Middle class, regular folks, Joe Regular, John Doe, Jane Doe, the people next door. John Q. Public. Jane Q. Public. See, the reason why I want you to research more about that word is because the bourgeois were very concerned with reflecting the trends of the wealthy. They could not be wealthy, but they had just enough resources to imitate the wealthy or the ruling class. See, you had the ruling class, the bourgeois, and the poor and working class. And truth be told, even if you really are bourgeois or middle class, if your ass is black as mine, you ain't but a few generations removed from regular working class people. Like I tell anybody, it's the farm or the factory. Most of us are just a couple of generations from farming families who farm their land, but may have owned it free and clear like my family. And although they were by no means rich, they did all right and had too much pride, respect, and a healthy dose of humility to go around bragging about being bad and bougie. But we always had enough. And we had enough to share. And from that, a foundation was built to send us out into the world to know the value of an honest day's work and an honest day's pay, and the earnest pursuit of a skill or profession that we could be proud of and practice with honor. In the North or an industrialized city, many of you are only 1 or 2 generations removed from the factories, the steel mills, General Motors, the car plants up in Detroit. But those men and women too have migrated from the South, went north to find work, to find a better life, in an escape from the horrors of the segregated Jim Crow South. And when they got there, they found work. And because their work ethic had been molded in the fields and in hard common labor in the South, they went into those factories and worked their way up to being supervisors and foremen, with the dream of providing for their children and grandchildren a better way and a better life. Some of you who have more degrees than a thermometer can thank your granddaddy and your grandmama who may not have had but a 6th or 8th grade education, but were able to do well enough to get their 40 acres and a mule and turn it into 200 acres of timber, cotton, soybean, corn, possibly even cattle. And still right now, many of us can return to that very land and walk across and feel under our feet the sacrifices of our forefathers. Those of you in the North whose fathers forged steel, built cars, and became a part of the working men who took so much pride in their labor that they wanted to ensure that they got all that they would do to form the unions that ensured the rights of those workers. Those of you now owe it to those men in those hard hats, boots, plaid shirts, and dicky pants. You owe them. Because see, even though they were not bougie and did not claim to be, they were bad. The cooks, the maids, the ladies who took in ironing, the school teachers, the nurses, the social workers, the waitresses, the clerks, the ship fitters, the welders, the iron workers, the janitors, the custodians. They might have not have been walking around talking about being bougie, but they were bad because their minds were not caught up in materialistic possessions, ideologies, or thoughts. They practiced a collective economy where they looked out for each other. And that is the only way that we survived. They didn't try to keep up with the Joneses because they knew, like I know, you don't have to keep up with the Joneses, because when the Joneses are bougie and they got a materialistic mindset, the Joneses always at work to pay all those bills they have. Mama got a job, daddy got a job, the kids working at McDonald's, and the dog even got a damn job because he got to watch the house because everybody gone. See, being bougie is not a badge of honor. It is often the symbol of those who are keeping up appearances, putting up fronts, whose debt-to-income ratio is choking the life out of them, and they got more month at the end of their money than money at the end of their month. I believe it was Aaron Copland who said, "'Tis a gift to be simple. 'Tis a gift to be free. 'Tis a gift to be right down where you ought to be." Down south in the country, it was called, "Don't go on putting on no airs." Today, the young folks say you ain't got to be flogging in front. Most of the time, the middle class do the most, as the young folks say, to imitate those who are wealthy. And those that are truly wealthy actually make no effort whatsoever to show their wealth, to brag about it, or even give themselves a title or a label. For instance, think about your regular Joe, bougie, next door neighbor with their maybe 3,500 to full 5,000 square foot house. His and her Mercedes or a big SUV in the yard. Honey, they ain't got no bills, because Bill is short for William. They ain't got no bills, baby. They got Williams. And they got the latest fashions, and always sitting up in the VIP section somewhere, being noticed when they go somewhere, or always on Facebook posting pictures of the parties and things that they go to. And then there are people like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, the Graves, and the Johnsons, who founded Ebony Magazine, and all the other people who got some money for real, but they got sense enough not to try to show it. I often tell people that you don't ever look up the monkey's ass to find out where the circus is going to be, because the monkey don't know. He just in the circus. See, those who are going around talking about they bad and bougie are really just basic, because they get all their information from the monkeys. And then there are those who work, are smart with their money. They get what they need before worrying about trying to keep up with somebody else's wants and wishes. And they end up stacking them some nice pieces of change. They stack their paper because they know how to become the ringmaster. Most of what y'all talking about being bougie really is just basic stuff. You get up, you go to work because you have a skill, a profession, or a well-paying job, or just an average job for some of y'all, because some of us can take an average job. You got some people right now, if they was to get a job paying them $40,000, it'll make them a damn fool. Don't let them get $100,000. Oh my God, you won't be able to hit them in the ass with a red apple. But going to work every day to practice your profession or your craft or your trade, taking your wages and paying your bills on time so that you can build a good credit history so that credit can be extended to you, because that's how most bourgeois, middle class, regular people buy houses and cars and big ticket items. Because see, when you're wealthy, you can go buy them cash. And when you're really wealthy and smart, You can spend other people's money because you have corporations and business in which you have venture capitalists invest in your dreams and your ideas, and you use other people's money. But when you're bougie, as my grandmama used to say, you think you're doing something when you ain't really just doing nothing except what everybody else is doing. Getting up, going to work, paying your bills on time, taking your paycheck, and buying you a house or a car and buying you some nice things, that's basic. Because I don't know anybody in their right mind who doesn't want better. And if you are bougie and you think you bad and bougie, all you got to do, baby, if you're above the Mason-Dixon line or from below the Mason-Dixon line, go back and talk to Uncle Joe, Granddaddy Frank, Mom Lucy, Aunt Jane, and you'll find out that you only 1 or 2 generations off the farm or 1 or 2 generations out of the factory. The things that you're doing ain't bougie. They're just basic. And if you ever get around some people that really know how money works, how money comes, and they got some money for real, you sound like a damn fool. Because it's always been said that a wise man can play the fool, but a fool can't pretend to be wise. And a rich man can pretend to be broke and get away with it, but it's hard for a broke man to pretend like he rich. I hope I've said something to make you think about not allowing everything that invades or arises from pop culture to become your mentality. Allow it to be fun. Allow it to be entertaining. Because while you going around here singing the rap lyrics of bad and bougie, I can go back to the 90s and tell you that it's the first of the month. And if you're going around here pretending to be too bad and too bougie, rapping that song, when them bills come due, you better remember the rap song from back in the 90s where we used to bob our heads saying, bitch, better have my money. Because the mortgage folk, the rent folk, the light folk, gas folk, water folks, car note folks, and as the old folks said down south, the insurance man gonna even want their money. So if you're doing things right, building a life, buying your homes, cars, saving a little money in the bank, or even got you a little few investments, that ain't bad. You ain't doing bad. You ain't bougie. That's just basic. Besides, if you got it, you ain't got to tell nobody. Eventually, it'll show. And if you ain't got it, you don't have to tell us, because we'll sure know that you're poor. Remember, you can't be bad and bougie. You don't have to be bad or bougie. But it's okay to be penny wise. As long as you're not pound foolish. And if you don't know what that means, Google Ben Franklin and find out what he's talking about. If you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss as a family, if you have anything that you'd like to share with me, I'm here on Facebook under my government name called Mark Zuckerberg. People made me change it. You can visit me at my websites, iamtheblues.net and redvelvet.com. You spell red with 2 D's. I am on Instagram and Twitter under Red Velvet Music. And you can always email me at redvelvet@live.com. I hope that I've made you laugh, but I hope I've made you think. Can't be bad and bougie. If you're really bad, you ain't bougie. And when you're really bad, you don't even tell nobody you bougie. I want to send a shout out to all of the people who get up every day to work to build your lives, to build a foundation for your families, your children, your grandchildren, and even to share with young people beyond your immediate family, into your extended families, and even to your non-relatives in your communities, so that they can have a fighting chance to take advantage of the opportunities that are available to those who really want them. And for those of you who feel that you're not going to get there, keep fighting, keep trying, keep working. Because you may not ever have to tell anybody you're bougie, but if you just stay the course, one day you'll sure enough be bad. And that'll be good. It'll be so good that I hope you'll be good to yourselves so that you can be good to each other. Now, this old girl got to take care of her skin, get some rest, get up in the morning, go make my paper. You get you some rest so you can make your paper. And let us all be wise enough to do the right thing with it so that we can become a powerful people instead of a begging people, so that we can stand on our feet and stop living on our knees.